Right now, President Trump's top immigration chiefs are testifying on Capitol Hill. The U.S. House Homeland Security Committee is questioning them on enforcement operations as they were dealing with doing their jobs, arresting criminals in the country illegally in Minnesota, while the agitators there stalked federal agents, terrorized a church service, and more. Total chaos in Minnesota. This congressional hearing has already produced some fireworks.
This commitment has a cost. We are facing the deadliest operating environment in our agency's history. The families of ICE personnel have been made to feel unsafe in their homes. I know this firsthand because my own family was targeted. But let me send a message to anyone who thinks they can intimidate us. You will fail.
And as that testimony is unfolding, new Department of Homeland Security numbers are painting a stark picture. Attacks on ICE agents are surging. Assaults on agents up by 1,300%. Vehicle attacks up by 3,200%. And death threats up a staggering 8,000%. Outside that hearing, Bill.
Hey, Harris, good morning to you. That hearing has been underway for about an hour or so now. And at the start of the hearing, the committee's top Democrat, Congressman Benny Thompson, asked the committee to use his opening statement to take a moment of silence for Alex Preddy and Renee Good. He then slammed DHS. Take a listen.
The Trump administration has devoted the full resources of the federal government to blocking a legitimate investigation into Ms. Good's killing. If that isn't a sign of guilt, I don't know what is.
Meanwhile, CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott used his opening statement to slam the Biden administration's open border policies. Then he touted the success the Trump administration has had with securing the border.
We've achieved record low illegal crossings between ports of entry. Border Patrol apprehensions along the southwest border totaled over 90,000 for the entire year. That's a number that used to represent a single month under the Biden administration.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons testified that ICE currently has about 13,000 ICE agents deployed in the field nationwide, and of that number, roughly 3,000 agents are equipped with body-worn cameras, with another 6,000 cameras about to be deployed. He then talked about ICE's arrest numbers.
From January 20th, 2025 through January 20th, 2026, ICE has conducted nearly 379,000 arrests. Among those arrests were more than 7,000 suspected gang members and over 1,400 known as suspected terrorists.
So, Harris, the Q&A phase just started a short time ago. That is when we're expecting some of the fireworks to happen. Right before I walked out, there was an interesting exchange between Congressman Eric Swalwell and Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons. Swalwell asked him, would he apologize to the families of Alex Preddy and Renee Good for members of the Trump administration referring to them as domestic terrorists. Director Lyons said no, he would not apologize. Then Swalwell countered and said, well, do you agree with their comments? Director Lyons said, I'm not going to comment on ongoing personnel issues and investigations. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Maluzhin, thank you very much. In focus now, former acting ICE director and former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, great to have you on the program. So we are in a different spot than we have been. And I want to get your take on just kind of where we've been juxtaposed to where we are now under Border Czar Tom Homan.
Well, you know, I think one of the most important things that I think is getting across in this hearing, hopefully from ICE and Border Patrol, is how successful they've been in this last year, meaning all of the deportations, 95% border crossings have been down, and how these things tie in to the overall societal good, meaning our crime rate is at record low, murder rates are at historic lows. Overdose rates are the lowest, death rates are lower than every year during the Biden administration significantly. And I think what Tom Homan bringing to the picture is really this focus on getting the criminals, but also it's really revealing what the Democrats' true motives are, because with him going in there and just saying, hey, we just want to cooperate with the local law enforcement, turn over your bad guys from the jail, it kind of smokes them out, meaning the Democrats, what their true motivations are in this. which really is to keep all illegal aliens essentially in the country. But I really hope they bring it to the American people's attention. This has been one of the greatest successes in the history of law enforcement this last year, with both CBP and ICE keeping our community significantly safer and removing a lot of bad guys.
Yeah,
that's this is definitely removing the bad guys, people from this country that's just commit murders and heinous crimes. Yes, I think most Americans agree with that. And this political side warfare between Republicans and Democrats is definitely that's the party systems. I don't agree with the party system. I think the federal agency is doing the best they can do their job. I don't agree with the ideal that citizens should be attacking them, and these rates are astronomical, and they're affecting our agents, these American citizens that's put on these uniforms to go out and do their job. Them, Homeland Security, investigators shouldn't be experienced at the Border Patrol, shouldn't be experienced. These are federal agents that are doing their job, man. They're not breaking the law. They're not. But when you out there harassing them and going up to the cars, we're seeing it. It's been seeing the cameras all over the country, and that's not right. You should be. You should not be getting in the way. Come up to the police car, open up the doors of the police officers, of the agents, and this is not behavior of a citizen. You don't get engaged in active possible criminal offense. That's not. I don't think no American allow that. That's why we have a court system. That's why we have all these judicial systems that can deal with this. So this type of behavior should be addressed. What is your opinion? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And this guy said they're giving all these rates. Faulkner in Focus giving his rates about crime, trespassing, heinous crimes. All these are being transitioned to a different level, a lower level that's not as previous before. I'm not talking about the administration. We know the news was talking about administration, but we're looking at what's presently happening right now. All right? And I don't think no federal agency should be attacked. What is your opinion? Leave a comment down below. Let me know.
You know, also at this hearing, I'll be listening for this detail, because a lot of Americans have died at the hands of drug cartels pushing their stuff into this country. They're killer drugs. And that has really dwindled to nearly nothing. And the kind of pressure that this administration has put on the cartels and, of course, secured the border is worth getting into today. I don't know if people see it who are not in border states, but that affects the entire country.
You're exactly right. And that's why it's so important that all of these things are interrelated, meaning ICE arrests internally are related to border security, because if people come across illegally like they did under Biden, they knew they were getting to stay. So this has disincentivized the crossing and also makes it much harder for drug cartels, because Border Patrol can now focus on drug cartels versus having to deal with all the migrants coming over. And again, we are, the drug overdose deaths were down to they're around 70,000. The numbers haven't been finalized for last year yet, but under the Biden administration, it was 102,000 average per year. So there are 30 more thousand people are alive today because of these actions, and it's getting better and better because President Trump is really taking it offensively to these cartels, and they don't like it because they're getting hit in the pocketbook.
Yeah, look, that's a blessing. You talk to emergency room physician assistants and doctors and nurses, and they will tell you that they can see a difference now, too. In fact, that's a big part of the story we need to lean in and do more on, because it's taking pressure off systems that really couldn't handle those types of fentanyl situations showing up at the door, and how do you rescue if they didn't get something in time to stop the killing of that drug. Let's move to this. Let's watch this together.
You can't punish everybody's throwing arrest that fucking person. That's the appropriate way to deal with this. This is way too much. Y'all doing way too much.
The people in Minnesota deserve better than this. Like, not everybody's going to riot and be an agitator and put pressure and stalk and do all of that to federal agents. And so there are just some people in Minnesota I know from living there who just want to go to work. They just want to raise their kids. Tight.
Yeah, this is really happening in Minnesota. This is not a joke. And these people coming from other
ICE
places,
protesters saying, quote,
these people coming from other places and agitating, and this is like these organizations. We're starting to see more organizations, and people are infiltrating the citizens. Nothing wrong with demonstrating your freedom of speech, but when you're out there bringing bullhorns and all this other extra stuff, and you're not even from Minnesota, we're now able to depict and see, starting to see more people that's not even from that state. Why are you doing this? What is your agenda? This is agenda driven, in my opinion. What is your opinion? Leave a comment down below. There's no wrong with protests. I don't mind citizens in Minnesota going out there and protesting what's going on, but do it in a respectful, in an organized way. And one's doing what they're doing right now. This is to cause disruption, and it's not in a safe manner. And so these are what they consider agitators and counter intuitive to the positive effect of freedom of speech, and these are really strong agitators. I'm trying to say in a polite way, are demonstrating something that should not be happening out in American streets. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Yeah, this is amazing to see what's going on in America now. What is your opinion? And the crimes, look at the hospitals. They're saying there has been a reduction in hospital emergency rooms, less overdose. We've seen a lot of positive uptick in many areas of our infrastructure and our systems in a positive way because of what ICE and these operations are doing.
Those trying to disrupt lawful ICE operations claim an authority they don't have. If the people of Minnesota don't like the laws, the answer is to persuade their fellow citizens to change the laws through the democratic process.
Exactly.
Jonathan, your reaction.
He's exactly right, and that's really the real issue here. This is really, Democrats always talk about a threat to democracy, but preventing valid laws from being enforced, that's the core of our democracy. And these people, if you want to call them protesters, rioters, are preventing that from happening, preventing the laws of the people from being enforced. And that's their sole intention. Their intention isn't to speak out, it's to prevent laws from being enforced. And what's so shameful about it for the Minnesota residents that you talked about, we have leaders like Walz and Jacob Frey that seem more interested in the politics of this than their actual responsibilities of keeping their communities safe. And they should be speaking out and saying to the community or to these protesters, these are valid laws being enforced, and do what Bill McGurn says. Hey, run for office, petition your congressman, but you can't just thwart, you can't subvert the law, because, if everyone can pick and choose what laws are being enforced, our society doesn't function. But this falls really on these leaders.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath on Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis. Governor Walz has spoken with the president, and at least things are moving along now. But if you're waiting for them to be less of politicians, I think, Jonathan, you and I won't hold our breath. People may not know about this, but there's a Michigan elementary school, and it appears to be teaching students to hate ICE agents at a very young age. Take a look at these photos shared on social media by Michigan State Representative Matt Maddock, showing students with signs that say, "We hate ICE," and "ICE should be in our drinks, not our city streets." One sign even says "ICE out." Now, we know where that came from, or at least we know where we've heard it recently, from Bad Bunny at the Grammys. None of this helps, but this feels more like an indoctrination now. Those kids are young.
This really speaks so poorly of our public school system as a whole, and these unions, because they don't just do it on this issue, they do it on every issue. But wouldn't the responsibility of our school system to be saying, like Bill McGurn was saying, hey, if you don't like the law, if you don't like policies, we have this wonderful mechanism called Congress, called the president, called elections to change this, and that's what you should be doing. But to indoctrinate these students is so shameful, and I think you covered it yesterday, but so many of these schools with the ICE protests and things of that nature are also failing schools.
Yeah, I'm going to end this with this. I totally agree. There's a lot of indoctrination. There's a lot of issues that's going on in our society, and Minneapolis is a major epicenter of this. We're seeing what's happening. There's a lot of lawlessness going on, like in Portland, Oregon. There's definitely here in Minnesota, Minneapolis. We need to get a hold of this as citizens. We need to make statements and let people know you should not be doing it out there in the streets. Let the officers do what they need to do. Let the ICE officers manage their protocols and laws they got to uphold, and what they're doing with immigration, and us stay out the way. Speak your rights, like the gentleman said. Go to your representatives, your voters, and put in requests to deal with this, to go before the legislature, the Senate, state Senate, state Congress, and the U.S. Congress, and get things done that way. But let the system play out as it's going. The American people requested this. American people request the reduction in immigration, illegal immigrations, Medicaid, Medicare, all the things that's going on, our deficit, the military. We asked for this, and we're getting it. And so this is what Americans wanted. So please understand that, because you don't like it and you don't want it, don't mean that was what a large populace of American voters voted for. So you could vote against it. That's your freedom of vote and freedom of speech. You can speak against it, but to be agitators and to give death threats to ICE agents and families, women and men in uniform, that's not fair. That's not called for. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. I'd like to hear from you.